A new crossover skin revealed, and a ton of adjustments in the test server. Let's begin. Welcome back to another episode, guys. Let's get into talking about what we're getting this week. This week, we're getting a B tier pet for Wu Chang that I think is called Ink Chilin. This is related to the Chilin skin that is, I believe, a skin that you can only get offline, as far as I remember. I can't really remember completely. This pet is going to be added to the store and is going to be available for echoes or for fragments, and it should be permanently added to the store. I haven't seen NetEase actually announce officially that it is coming this week, but as far as we can tell, it is coming this week. So hopefully this is what we can expect this week. Another thing that we're getting this week is we're getting the final push event, and that is the final week before the next season begins. And of course, you guys should definitely be saving up some dice because the season is soon coming to a finish. And of course, there are some new skins coming up in the next season. So that means that we're going to be getting higher logic points, higher logic point limit, and stuff like that. As far as I can tell, that's all we're getting this week. So let's talk about what we're getting from the future. And it looks like we're getting even more stuff. The first thing I want to talk about is the new Esports Series skins that are coming, because of course we talked a little bit about this maybe a couple of months ago when they announced there was a new series coming out, but they didn't really give us many details about what was coming. We now know at least one character that's getting two skins, and that is for Mercenary. They revealed Mercenary's A-tier skin called String Sound Distortion. I believe this is a translation, so it might have a different name in English. This is going to be available for echoes or for fragments in the main store, or in the Golden Apple store. You'll be able to purchase it with golden apples. And this is quite an interesting skin. I do quite like it. I'm not always a big fan of Mercenary skins, except for, of course, his fancy Estes skin that was called, what's it called? The red one. That one's really, really cool. Red Man, I think that was that one. That one's a really, really good skin, but this one is quite good. Another thing that we're getting for Mercenary in this Esports series is we're getting a Mercenary package that's probably going to cost around 2,228 echoes and will contain Mercenary's A-tier skin OPH naib and the S-tier accessory for him as well called Transposition. Again, translations might not be called that in English when they release. You could also purchase these separately for echoes. We've yet to see what the effects are. The Transposition accessory is like a golden brooch with blue sapphires on it, and the A-tier skin itself is kind of naib wearing pretty hip looking clothes. That's the best way for me to describe it overall. Last week we talked a little bit about the Autumn Harvest Festival that's coming on the September 26th. So not this patch, but the following patch after that, I believe. And that's going to bring a ton of content, but they've also announced some more stuff that's coming out during that event. And we're getting a ton of returning S-tier skins, including Forward's Locomotive skin, Aeroplanist's Stellar Wing skin, Clerk's Creator skin, Nightmare's Abyss skin, and Prospector's Orphan of Goetia. I think some of these have already come back in the past. For example, Nightmare's Abyss skin has come back 2 or 3 years in a row now, as far as I remember. I might be wrong about that, but his skin has definitely been available at least once or twice before. For Aeroplanist's one and of course Prospector's one should be the first time or second time that they come back, I believe. Let's move on to September 30th, because on September 30th we'll be getting the China Academy of Art crossover part 2, because the first part was when we got the Antiquarian skin. This time we're getting Wu Chang's skin, and it looks really, really cool. I'm not really sure what it's going to look like in game per se, because the art style they presented it to us kind of seemed more like inky painted. So I wonder what that's going to look like in game. It may look very different than any skins we've had so far, or it just may look like a normal skin that's just got the theme that they showed off. But overall, it's going to be a skin that's available for free during the event, and I do think it's very unique. That's for sure. Another thing that's connected to this China Academy of Art crossover is we're getting the B-tier survivor pet called Curator. It's for survivors, so it's not for Wu Chang specifically. You'll be able to take it along. It looks like a little annoyed ink kitten that has like a scroll or something on its back. It's pretty nice, but not sure if it's something that I would personally want to take along with me. This can also be obtained for free by participating in the event, so you'll be able to get the Wu Chang skin and the survivor pet when that event comes out on September 30th. I think it's time for us to talk about some of the stuff that's been announced in the test server, some adjustments, buffs, and nerfs for characters, and these are quite interesting overall. Weeping Clown has had a slight nerf, where his decoding debuff speed that was 10% is now going to be 15% slower, so it's going to be minus 15%, not 10%. Mechanic has had a buff, basically, I would say this is all a buff, where her external trait called Cowardly, where whenever someone takes damage, she gets a debuff towards her decoding, has been reduced from 35% less to 25% less, so she's at 10% faster when someone gets hit. The decoding speed buff on the doll has changed from 10% to 16%, as far as I know. I think that's what that means. The doll's energy consumption has changed from 0.56% per second to 0.5% per second, so that's a very minor change, but does mean that it might be able to last a little bit longer. And when on the rocket chair or whenever she's downed, the energy consumption that she usually has, the increase that she has towards the doll's energy, has changed from 0.83% per second to 0.75% per second. So that's actually quite a big change. She'll be able to decode a little bit longer whenever she's on a rocket chair or whenever she's down bleeding on the floor. Puppeteer has had quite a big change here, where now Lewis is able to absorb 1.5 normal damage. I believe he could only take 1 damage before, so that means he'll be able to take 1.5 damage. When Lewis takes damage from Hermit, so this is a Hermit specific adjustment, Lewis will take the damage first, and then the extra damage will be split between the other survivors. So I guess that means that the Puppeteer himself won't take the damage, it's Lewis that will kind of absorb the hit for him. So that's quite convenient for him. His trait Useless Flesh has been changed to, after he heals other survivors, the next healing time for healed survivors increased by 10%, not 20%. So I guess that's a nerf, a buff. I haven't really played Puppeteer that much, so I don't completely understand all of his healing buffs and changes. So you guys can tell me if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think that's a nerf there, but he's been buffed in other places. But you guys can tell me. Pharaoh Lady has had an adjustment, mostly, where her cloak cooldown length will now change depending on how long her previous cloak lasted. The longer she used the cloak for, the longer the cooldown, from 3 seconds all the way up to 40 seconds longer than usual. So I think this is a nerf, but I'm not completely sure. She's quite a new character. I have messed around with her, but I don't exactly understand how the cooldown works, because sometimes it resets, sometimes it goes back down to 0 and you can keep on using it immediately. It's a little confusing. The hunter can now not hear her movement or effects when using the aromatherapy cane whilst cloaked. This was a really weird thing that you could actually just tell exactly where she was just by listening to the audio in the game, and the audio in the game is actually pretty decent. So they're removing that, meaning that she's more invisible. You won't be able to track her as easily. And her cloak's cooldown is now paused when she is ballooned. As far as I can tell, that's what that should mean. Prospector has had a big but small change to his magnet charging time, where it's been increased from 60 seconds to 70 seconds to be able to generate another magnet. Geisha's had her cooldown for her dash hit changed from 8 seconds to 9 seconds. So that's an extra 1 second. That can really affect her. Axe Boy's had a change to his resentful souls, where they've made it so that they've changed the relative position of resentful souls around a survivor to improve selection, because there were some issues of maybe you wanted to select this fireball, but instead it automatically selected the wrong one by accident. So they've made it, I'm assuming, so there's a bit more distance between resentful souls that are following a survivor, so you can select the correct one. This bit I didn't really understand, but they said the judgment width of the restful road increased by 50%. Does that mean that the restful road, his path that he summons, is now 50% thicker? Or does it mean something else? I really have no idea what it means here. You guys can tell me. And the initial Peaceful Pines count has changed from 5 to 6. Nightmare has had the most interesting change in my opinion, where he's actually gained a whole new ability here. His first minor change is the movement speed increase when he's not chasing a survivor has now been changed from 10% to 30%, so he's a tiny bit faster when he's not chasing a survivor. When he's hit by a pallet or stunned by a pallet when using his dive, his attack animation thing, Nightmare gains a new effect where the next time he is pallet stunned, he will ignore the stun and the animation and the pallet will automatically be destroyed, meaning that he'll probably be able to continue dash attacking and just go straight through that newly destroyed pallet. They've increased his pallet destroying speed and they've optimized his camera angle. They also made it so his cooldown for his Bad Omen, that I believe is his crow or his crow teleport, has been increased from 50 seconds to 57 seconds. So that's a slight nerf there, but they've given him buffs all around everywhere else as far as I can tell. Of course, these things may all change in the test server again. They are testing them out, they're adjusting them. Maybe they don't like it, maybe this character's too strong, maybe one of the other characters are too strong, and they might change those numbers slightly before release. So keep that in mind, but this is what we might see more or less when things come to live servers. NetEase has slowly been announcing a ton of EPs, so the music for all the characters for older characters such as Doctor, Lawyer, Thief, Gardener, and Hellember. Whenever a new character releases, they get music now, so that's like a little thing that you'll be able to play in your room. But they also talked about giving older characters some music, so far they're going to be giving a ton of music to these characters, but we don't really know when that's going to happen because they just said soon, so that could be this week for all we could tell. It could be next week or in 3 weeks time, but probably very, very soon. We've also had some really interesting news about the new story events. So far we've had 2 story events, no 3 technically if you count Ashes of Memory Part 1 and Ashes of Memory Part 2, but we're getting a new event called Closing Night that they announced almost half a year ago, or maybe even further than that, but we know that it's coming out in November, and that's really exciting. It's going to be centered around the Hullabaloo Circus story, but it's going to be interesting indeed, and we know that there's going to be a Q&A session coming on September 24th, meaning we have soon got quite a lot to talk about, as the Q&A usually brings a lot of interesting details. You see that video that's on the screen right there? You should definitely click it because it's something that YouTube thinks that you will like.